It was late October when I got the call from Aunt May. Her voice came through the static like it was crawling up from underground. She didn't waste time with pleasantries, just said, "Travis, Benny's gone missing, and I think he walked into something that doesn't want him found." I hadn't stepped foot on the Navajo reservation in nearly 10 years. After the Marines, I spent most of my time doing freelance tracking gigs, helping search and rescue teams, sometimes even the cops when they had no one else. But Benny Redfeather? He was the one person who made the res feel like home back then. The idea of him lost out there in the hills, in those woods we used to sneak into as kids, it cracked something open in me. By the time I pulled up to Aunt May's small home just off the main road in Chaco Ridge, the sun was low and thick with that dusty orange haze you only get in New Mexico. She came out with her shawl pulled tight, her eyes sharper than I remembered. "You shouldn't have come alone," she said. "You called me, and I still hoped you wouldn't come," she replied. "Something's wrong out there." I told Benny the same. Inside, the house smelled like cedar and smudge smoke. Her shelves were lined with feathers, jars of herbs, small carved animals. She didn't sit, just kept glancing at the window like someone might be watching. "He went up toward the burn circle," she said. Said he heard his sister's voice calling him. "Nora? She's been gone 3 years." Exactly. That stopped me. I remembered when Nora died in that flash flood. Benny was never quite the same afterward. He'd stare off at the hills like he expected her to walk down from them. Aunt May handed me a small woven pouch. "Take this," she said. "Blessed cedar, turquoise, and bone. It'll keep the spirits confused. Not safe to track alone out there. Not anymore." I nodded and tucked it into my jacket pocket. The next morning, I hiked out past the ridge where Benny's old truck had been found. It was still parked under a dead pinon tree, dust-covered and empty. No signs of a struggle. Just the driver's door open, like he stepped out and meant to come right back. I dropped to one knee and scanned the area. Years of military training kicked in like muscle memory. The tracks were there, faint but present. One set of boots, same size as Benny's. They led north, deeper into the forested slope. I followed for half an hour before I noticed something strange. Another set of prints began overlapping the first, same size, same tread. But the gait was different. At times, the second pair trailed too close behind. Then, for a stretch, they walked beside the first. I knelt, heart thudding. How could 2 identical sets of footprints exist? The sun dipped lower, and I knew better than to be out too long. I marked my path and set up camp by a small creek. As I sat by the fire, warming my hands, I kept thinking about what Aunt May had said. If you hear Benny calling, it's not Benny. The wind rustled the trees, and I swear I caught a whisper. My name. Faint. Travis. I stood up, knife in hand, scanning the trees. Nothing. No movement. But my skin prickled, and my breath came out in puffs. A coyote howled somewhere in the distance. Then silence. I should have left then. But something in me whispered back. Not yet. Morning came colder than I expected. My breath puffed out in mist, and the fire had died sometime in the night. I didn't sleep much. That whisper, my name drifting out of the trees, kept looping in my mind, sounded like Benny, but flat, like someone trying to remember how to speak. I packed my gear, marked the spot with a strip of orange cloth, and headed deeper into the woods. The trail grew thinner, overgrown, like it hadn't been walked in years. But the footprints continued. Still 2 sets, both Benny's boots. One stride normal, the other almost too perfect, like it was copying. Around noon, the trees opened into a clearing I hadn't seen since I was a teenager, the Echo Pit. It's not marked on any map, just a sheer drop carved out by time, maybe 60 feet across, ringed in moss-covered stone. Kids used to throw rocks into it and yell until their echoes came back warped and eerie. We stopped doing that after Benny swore he heard a voice say his name. This was long before Nora died. I crept to the edge. The wind moved through the pit like breath. "Benny!" I shouted. Silence. Then, "Trav, is..." It didn't echo. Just came back the same way I sent it. Flat, dry. "Where are you? Help me. I'm cold. It's dark." I dropped to my knees, heart hammering. That voice, it was Benny's, but broken somehow. like it was trying to sound hurt, trying to be pitiful. But the emotion didn't match the words, just noise arranged like feeling. I reached for a rock, chucked it into the pit. Nothing, no sound, not even a thud. I backed away. Then the voice returned, closer this time. "Don't leave me here, Trav, please." I looked around, eyes scanning the trees, the rocks, anything. But I was alone. Back when we were 13, Benny dared me to spit into the echo pit, said it was bottomless. I told him I saw bones at the bottom once. He laughed and said I was lying. We argued until Aunt May dragged us both home. Now I felt like that argument never ended, like it was still hanging in the pit somewhere, waiting for me. I forced myself to keep moving. The tracks split around the edge of the pit. Both sets continued north. The air got colder the farther I walked, like I was climbing into winter itself. My fingers numbed despite my gloves. By late afternoon, I found a hollow between two ridges and pitched my tent. The wind was picking up, rustling the trees with a hiss like whispering mouths. That night, I built a small fire and heated a can of beans, but my stomach didn't want them. My nerves were fraying. I kept hearing the creak of branches, the rustle of leaves, soft feet padding across dead pine needles. Then I heard it again. "Don't look at me. Don't look at my face." It was Benny's voice, right outside the tent. I froze, staring at the fabric wall. The zipper trembled slightly, like fingers brushing it. "I don't want you to see me like this, Trav. It's not done wearing me." I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Then silence. I gripped the knife under my sleeping bag and waited. Minutes passed. An hour. Finally, I dared to unzip the tent, just a crack. Nothing there, no tracks, no breath in the cold air. Just the forest. I stayed awake till dawn, and when the first light came, I noticed something. A strip of cloth, caught on a branch just beyond camp. It was Benny's old bandana, the one he always tied around his wrist. I picked it up, still warm. By morning, I could barely hold my compass steady. My hands weren't shaking from the cold anymore. It was something deeper than that, something I didn't want to name yet. The bandana was still in my jacket pocket, damp with a strange warmth that hadn't faded overnight. It made my skin itch just carrying it. I packed up quickly and followed the trail Benny's prints had left. The forest was denser now. Pines grew twisted, leaning into each other like they were whispering. The silence out there wasn't natural. No birds, no insects, just the crunch of my boots and the distant breath of wind. About 2 miles north, I came to a rock face I vaguely remembered from our childhood hikes, the Coyote Den. It sat at the base of the cliff, half hidden by scrub and dead branches, a jagged cave mouth wide enough for a person to crawl through, and standing just outside of it, Benny. He looked up at me. Same jeans, same brown canvas jacket with the tear in the sleeve. His face pale, a little thinner than I remembered, but unmistakably him, except for the eyes. They were darker, not just color, depth, like if you stared too long, you'd fall into them. "Trav," he said, voice soft. "You came." I stepped forward slowly. My whole body went tight with instinct. "Where the hell have you been? Everyone's looking for you." May's worried sick. He didn't answer right away, just smiled, not the way Benny used to. This was wide, too wide, like it hurt him to pull his cheeks back that far. "You shouldn't be here," he said. "I'm not me right now." I stopped 10 feet from him. "What does that mean?" He tilted his head sharply, like a dog hearing something high-pitched, then straightened. "You remember when we snuck into May's smokehouse, and you knocked over that jar of fat, and we blamed the neighbor's kid?" I nodded slowly. "You cried so hard when she caught us lying," he said. "Your nose bled." I laughed. I opened my mouth, then closed it. That was word for word how it happened, but something in the way he said it felt wrong, like someone feeding lines through an old tape recorder. I took a step back. "Benny, what's in that cave?" He didn't move, just kept smiling. "It sleeps sometimes, when it's full, but it's always watching." I reached into my pocket and touched the pouch Aunt May gave me. His eyes flicked to my hand. "She gave you bones," he said. "That's cheating." My blood ran cold. He took a step toward me. I drew my knife. He stopped, smiled wider. "You're still you," he whispered. "That's rare." Then he turned and walked into the cave. I didn't follow, not yet. I stayed outside, breathing hard, trying to convince myself I'd just seen a man suffering, traumatized maybe. But that voice, it didn't feel like Benny. And the way he repeated that memory, it was like a puppet show version of our past. I waited there till sundown, crouched by the rocks, eyes locked on the cave. But he never came out. As the sky turned dark, I radioed Aunt May. Her voice came through soft and wary. "You saw him, didn't you?" "He's alive, May." "But something's not right." There was a long pause. Then she said, "Benny wore a bone pendant. A protection charm, you remember? I found it, near the burn circle, days ago." My stomach twisted. "He's still wearing one," I said. Another pause. "Then that's not our Benny. The real one never left that place." The fire I made that night was bigger than I needed. I sat with my back to a tree, knife on my lap, every muscle tight. From the direction of the cave, I heard footsteps now and then, stopping just beyond sight, waiting. And once, just once, I heard my own voice call out from the trees. "Trav, come here, I found something." But I didn't move, because it said the words right, but not with the right weight. By the time I woke, the fire was long dead, and the woods were full of gray, the kind of dawn where everything looks like it's made of ash. I didn't dream, but I felt like something had watched me breathe all night. I stood up stiffly, checking the perimeter. No tracks, no signs of Benny, or whatever he was now. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling I'd been surrounded. I followed the ridge east, hoping for high ground. The map in my mind, the one from 100 hikes with Benny when we were kids, told me I was heading toward the old stream bed. I could loop around the burned circle from there. Halfway there, I caught movement in the brush ahead. I crouched, rifle raised. Then I saw him, Benny, standing perfectly still, half-shadowed behind a pine. "Benny," I called softly. He stepped into the light, only it wasn't light, it was just less shadow. His head cocked slightly. I moved toward him, slowly, watching his arms hang limp. The smile was gone now. His face was blank, like he was waiting to be told how to feel. "Why are you following me?" I asked. He didn't speak. Instead, he mirrored me, lifted his left hand when I did, took a step back when I stepped forward. I stopped. My breath caught. I turned left sharply. So did he. It wasn't mimicry, it was practice. He was learning me. I backed away slowly. Then I heard a sound behind me. Twigs snapping. I spun around, heart thudding. Nothing there. When I turned back, Benny was gone. The trees stood empty. I kept moving, faster now. The stream bed was dry, its cracked stones covered in frost. I followed it until the sky began to darken. I knew where I was headed now, the burned circle. The place everyone said you shouldn't go. Not without a reason, not without something to leave behind. By dusk, I found it. A perfect circle of blackened rock, charred down into the earth like lightning struck there and never stopped burning. It was cold, not just desert night cold, but bone-deep, hollow cold. The ground inside the circle was dead. Not a blade of grass, not a single weed. And in the center, a piece of cloth, torn, familiar. I walked toward it and picked it up. My old marine jacket sleeve, from the one I'd burned years ago. How the hell? "Hey, Trav!" I spun. Benny stood just outside the circle. Only it wasn't my Benny. It was me. My face, my jacket, my voice. Except the smile was too perfect. And the eyes, those weren't mine. They were the same bottomless dark I'd seen before. "You remember when you broke your ankle falling off the water tower? Cried like a baby. You told everyone you fought off a coyote." My stomach turned. I hadn't told anyone that. Not even Benny. "You don't get to wear me," I said quietly. The thing's face twitched. The smile dropped, just for a second. Then it whispered, "You already gave yourself to me. Long ago, when you looked away." I backed up into the burned circle. The air buzzed like static. My fingers tingled. It took a step forward, but stopped at the edge. Its smile returned, stretched wider than skin should allow. "You think this place protects you? It remembers you too." You left more than footprints here." Then it dropped to all fours and ran into the woods. Ran. Too fast. Too fluid. Like a spider wearing skin. I collapsed in the center of the burned circle, trying to slow my breathing. The silence pressed in like weight. I didn't know what was worse. Knowing it could wear my friend's face, or knowing it had started learning mine. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even try. I sat in the center of the burned circle with my back to a stone, rifle in hand, flashlight clutched tight in the other. The fire I built barely stayed lit, and every flicker of movement outside the circle felt like a test of my nerve. At some point, the wind died completely. That's when I heard Benny's voice again. "You remember the summer we stayed up watching meteor showers? You said you'd go to the stars one day. I said I'd stay here and watch your footprints." My throat went dry. "You don't remember that, do you? Because I do. It came from behind me. I didn't turn. I know more of you than you think. I've been walking in your skin longer than you have." Silence. Then, footsteps. Light. Careful. Mimicking a memory. At dawn, I packed my gear and made a decision. I'd end this. I didn't know what it was exactly, but if it was wearing Benny, if it was trying to wear me, it needed to be stopped. I returned to a bluff overlooking the echo pit. That's where I made the trap. I dug a shallow trench near the edge, lined it with sharpened sticks. Over that, I laid brush and dried leaves. Then I looped my old emergency radio to play a recording I had of Benny's voice from an old voicemail. "Trav, pick up, man. You won't believe what I found." I set it on repeat and backed away. The wind was calm, the air thick, unmoving. For hours, I waited behind the rocks, rifle trained on the trap. Nothing. Then, just as the sun dipped low enough to paint the world blood orange, I heard her voice. "Travis, come help me, baby. I need your hands." I turned and nearly dropped the rifle. Aunt May stood there, but not quite. Her shawl hung too perfect. Her feet made no sound, and her eyes, they shimmered like glass over ink. "Come here, sweet one. I'm cold." "You're not her," I whispered. She smiled, and it wasn't May's smile. It was Benny's. The thing dropped to all fours and crawled forward in jerking motions, limbs cracking as it shifted shapes. I fired. Once. Twice. It vanished into the trees, shrieking in a chorus of voices. Benny's, mine, May's, and others I didn't recognize. The radio behind me kept repeating, "You won't believe what I found." Then that voice answered itself. "I found you." The radio sparked, hissed, and died. I stood frozen, heart pounding, as the trap sat untouched. I failed. It wasn't just imitating, it was improvising. I felt it before I saw it. A shift in the air, a wrongness. To my left, in the space between two trees, it stepped out wearing my face, my smile, my stance. "I always knew you'd come back," it said. I backed away slowly, but the cliff was behind me. It tilted its head. "Why run from yourself, Travis?" I raised the rifle. It grinned. "I learned you too well. You won't shoot unless you're sure, and you'll never be sure." And then it was gone again. No rustling, no movement. Just gone. I dropped to my knees, trembling. Whatever this thing was, it wasn't hunting me. It was replacing me, and I was starting to lose track of who I even was. I didn't remember walking back to the Coyote Den. My boots were caked in dust, my throat raw, my legs aching, but I had no memory of the hours between sundown and now. Just a tunnel of cold thought and the image of my own face smiling back at me. The cave stood as I'd left it, gaping like an old wound in the earth. The trees around it looked darker somehow, as if they'd leaned closer, drawn to the thing inside. I lit a torch and ducked into the entrance, dragging my hand along the rock wall for balance. The smell hit me first, something ancient and spoiled. Wet fur, rusted metal, rot. Animal bones littered the passage, some fresh, some sun-bleached. Skulls stacked like totems, deer, coyote, rabbit. Then larger ones, not animal. A shoe, a belt buckle, a torn scrap of red flannel. I held the torch higher and saw claw marks in the stone, some so deep they looked like gouges left by metal hooks. My hand brushed something soft, leather, number skin, stretched and tanned across the wall. Faces, human faces, hollow, leathery, their features frozen in half screams. Benny's was among them. I fell backward, nearly dropping the torch. It rolled a few feet before I scrambled to grab it. When I looked up again, I saw it, curled in the back of the cave. Not a creature exactly, more a shape, a constantly changing one. Limbs slid in and out of view, human and animal, young and old, as if it couldn't decide what to be. A long-fingered hand twitched, morphed into a hoof, then into a child's arm. Its spine rose and fell like breathing, and then it opened its eyes. They weren't eyes, they were voids, like someone had torn holes into another world. It spoke without moving. "You carry so many faces inside you, Travis. You think they're yours." I backed away slowly, trying not to breathe too loud. My torch flickered. "You left a piece of you here long ago. A lie, a secret, something small, but I found it." "What are you?" I asked, barely able to force the words. "I am the shape between memories, the thing you made when you turned away." "I didn't make you." It smiled. My smile, Benny's smile, May's. "You remember the dog, don't you? The one you buried under the mesa. You told Benny it ran away, but it didn't." My knees buckled. I nearly vomited. "You lied, and lies are offerings." I pulled out the pouch May had given me and held it high. The entity recoiled for a moment, but then it laughed. The sound came from behind me, above me, inside me. "That's for children. You're not a child anymore. You're a shape waiting to be worn." I stepped closer to the pile of faces. Benny's stared back at me. "You want a voice?" I whispered. "Take mine. Let them go." It paused. All movement in the cave froze. Even the torch fire seemed to hang in stillness. "You offer willingly?" "Yes." The thing shuddered, shifted, drew itself tall. Its form twisted until it resembled me again, perfectly, right down to the burn scar on my left wrist. "You've already given it," it said in my voice. Darkness swallowed the cave. My torch went out. I remember a scream. It might have been mine. I woke in dirt. My fingers twitched first, then my breath returned in a ragged gasp. The cave was empty. My torch was gone. The walls no longer breathed. The pile of faces was gone too. I stumbled out into the gray morning light, knees buckling as I crawled out of the Coyote Den. My mouth tasted like ash. My ears rang with whispers I couldn't translate. I stood slowly, every muscle screaming, and looked down at my hands. They looked like mine, but so had its. The path back to Aunt May's place took a full day. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. I moved like a shadow, eyes hollow. I passed the burn circle without looking. Heard my voice whisper from the trees again. This time I didn't stop. When I reached her home, it was near sundown. Smoke curled from the chimney. Her porch light flickered. Aunt May opened the door slowly, and for a second she didn't speak. She just stared at me. "May?" Her eyes narrowed. "How do I know it's really you?" she asked softly. I don't know. What did you do the day Nora died?" I swallowed hard. "I found Benny drunk behind the church. He was crying. I sat with him until sunrise, even though he didn't say a word. He gave me a cigarette and I didn't smoke it. I still have it." Aunt May nodded slowly. Her eyes glistened. "Then come inside, child." The warmth hit me like a wave. Cedar smoke, stew, and her steady presence. I collapsed into the old chair by the stove. "Did you find him?" she asked after a long silence. "I found what was left. I found what took him." She closed her eyes. "I thought so." "May." It wore his face. Then it wore mine. It knew things I'd buried, things I'd forgotten. It said I made it, that my lies fed it. It's not wrong. These things feed off broken truth, guilt, regret. That's what makes them powerful. They wear faces soaked in it. Did I kill it? She turned slowly, her voice low. If it walks, it walks. If it waits, it waits. It's not dead until the last memory it carries is forgotten. A chill crawled up my spine. So what do I do now? She handed me a mirror. You look, and you don't look away. I stared into it. My reflection stared back, scar on my wrist, gray in my hair. eyes wide, watching. Then something flickered, a twitch that didn't belong to me, just a fraction of a second. But it was there. "May," I whispered. "Is it gone?" She didn't answer. Behind me, the kettle began to whistle, but the mirror didn't show her moving. Only me, and the thing behind me, grinning too wide. That was 3 weeks ago. They found Aunt May's house burned to the ground, no sign of her, just ash and bone fragments. I'm writing this from a motel 2 towns over. I don't look in mirrors anymore. I wear gloves. I sleep with the lights on. And sometimes, when I pass a storefront or catch my shadow just wrong, I see it, smiling, mouthing my name, asking to be let back in. So if you ever hear a voice calling from the trees, one that sounds like someone you love, don't answer, because it might wear their face, but it's not them, it never was, and now it knows you too.